In this week's EV news, Bonnet announces price rises that are making some customers question the benefit of their service. GeniePoint announced price rises that make most customers question the value of their service. The UK government scraps the £1,500 plug-in car grant. MG stops taking orders for new EVs in the UK. And Citroen announced finance pricing for Ami, their electric quadricycle. I know, it's been a while and I need to get more consistent with these news uploads. Still struggling to get back into a regular upload schedule, but we're almost there, I think. Bumper packed agenda for you this week, so let's get right into it, shall we? Mobility service provider Bonnet has been turning heads through announcing price rises for their service. If you're not familiar with Bonnet, they're basically an aggregator for various charge point operators. Rather than using the provider's own app, RFID card or your own credit or debit card, you sign up to the Bonnet app and you then have one app to access a variety of charge points over various networks. They've been getting a lot of attention for two reasons recently. The first of all is that they operate a referral scheme where you can get credit for signing people up. This often seems to lead to people going absolutely mad for something. I think being able to seemingly get something for nothing by referring strangers to use an app drives people a bit crazy. Facebook groups, Twitter feeds and everywhere else have been absolutely rammed with nothing but Bonnet and Bonnet referral links for the past few months. Make of that what you will, but it's certainly an effective marketing strategy. The second reason though, and the reason we're here, is just how cheap the charging was. 35 pence per kilowatt hour for pay-as-you-go access. With access to networks like Osprey, GeniePoint, Fastned and Alpha Power, this was far cheaper than the walk-up rates with those providers. And they also just added Ionity, who as you know are notoriously expensive at 69 pence, so it was a bit of a bargain. And what was even cheaper was if you bought one of their bundles. It was a bit like a monthly subscription, but where you're basically just prepaying for a set amount of charging. It's not like a subscription fee like with BP Pulse. You're just bulk buying credit for charging, and then when you use it on the networks that they support, it goes down again. And this could see you charging for as little as 25 pence per kilowatt hour, cheaper than some people are currently paying for home charging, and a massive bargain on all of the networks that were included, obviously mostly so on Ionity. Now, when I saw this, I couldn't help but wonder, and I don't think I was alone in this, how on earth are these guys ever going to make any money if this is what they're charging? They're certainly attracting customers, but it has to be completely unsustainable, isn't it? I don't believe Ionity especially were giving them the charging credits so cheaply that they could sell it at 25 pence and make a profit. Especially when that's equal to or less than what people with partner manufacturer deals with Ionity could be paying. It's no surprise then that a raft of price increases were incoming. It's just been announced it's 50 pence per kilowatt hour for their pay-as-you-go option, with their cheapest bundle reducing that to 40 pence. There's still a decent saving on the walk-up rates for most of the partners, but the stupidly cheap days have gone. But what I find absolutely hilarious with this is that all the Facebook groups absolutely erupted with anger when this was announced. All of the same people that were plugging the referral code and singing their praises and happy to collect the free cash by spamming the referral code everywhere were now like, oh, this is outrageous, this is awful. I'm going to have to delete the app immediately, I'm never going to use it again. Make of that what you will, I suppose. But I still think it represents reasonable value over the provider's own rates if you're charging often enough to want to have to prepay for a bundle. But it does show there are fewer and fewer opportunities for cheaper public charging, and the cost of electric motoring is rising. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you use Bonnet, will you continue despite their new rates? Next up, with some more price rise misery, is GeniePoint, who rather interestingly are one of the providers available on the Bonnet app. They currently charge 48 pence and they are increasing to 57 pence per kilowatt hour. This is the same price Instavolt currently charge, which I thought was quite interesting. But there's a big difference between Instavolt and GeniePoint, and that is that Instavolt chargers generally work when you need them to. GeniePoint are, in my experience, absolutely terrible for reliability and availability. And their maintenance strategy definitely seems to leave a lot to be desired, and I don't think I'm alone in that. Some people have been speculating that this latest price rise is one of the reasons why Bonnet are increasing their rates, but I refuse to believe that there are enough consistently working GeniePoint chargers in the whole country for it to have made that much of a difference to Bonnet. So it's another worrying set of price rises that make things harder for those relying on public charging, and I'm sure plenty of people will have a good old moan about it. The thing is though, petrol and diesel aren't exactly cheap either, and you'd still be motoring for far less if you can charge at home, charge at work, or are regularly able to access chargers that are a little bit cheaper. You'd still be doing quite well. I think there might be a little bit of danger for those that have financed themselves up to the eyeballs to buy a really expensive EV that they maybe otherwise couldn't have been able to afford if they've justified it with fuel savings, but I suspect those cases are few and far between. And cheap home charging will be buffering that for the majority of people that have done something a bit like that, I think. I don't think it's the doom and gloom everyone's saying it is, but road trips and inefficient cars are going to be a little bit more expensive than they used to be. In more seemingly grim financial news, the UK government has scrapped the plug-in car grant. After a series of reductions that saw it to be lowered from its height of £5,000 to just £1,500, it has now been scrapped completely. True to form, they did this with absolutely no notice whatsoever, announcing on the 14th of June that it was to be scrapped immediately. Here's the important part of the press release, a link to which is in the description if you'd like to read it yourself. The government is today, 14th of June 2022, closing the plug-in car grant scheme to new orders, after successfully kick-starting the UK's electric car revolution and supporting the sale of nearly 500,000 electric cars. The scheme has succeeded in creating a mature market for ultra-low emission vehicles, helping to increase the sales of fully electric cars from less than 1,000 in 2011 to almost 100,000 in the first 5 months of 2022 alone. Battery and hybrid electric vehicles now make up more than half of all new cars sold, and fully electric car sales have risen by 70% in the last year, now representing 1 in 6 new cars joining UK roads. The government has always been clear that the plug-in car grant was temporary and previously confirmed funding until 2022 to 2023. Successive reductions in the size of the grant and the number of models it covers have had little effect on rapidly accelerating sales or on the continuously growing range of models being manufactured. To continue the government's drive towards net zero and to ensure effective use of taxpayer funds, £300 million in grant funding will now be refocused towards extending plug-in grants to boost sales of plug-in taxis, motorcycles, vans and trucks and wheelchair accessible vehicles, as announced in the autumn statement. Now, you must know by now if you follow this channel my stance on the plug-in car grant. I think it's been wildly abused over the years and I absolutely fully welcome it ending. I don't think anyone's decision to spend £30,000 on an EV was being influenced by a £1,500 grant anyway, and I'm almost certain this will be absorbed over time by manufacturers who have moved the list price goalposts around when the grant has and have made sure they've been milking it as much as possible. What I would like to see is that this promise of redirecting this funding to other areas like charging provision or other vehicle types actually happens though, because that is the best way to further EV adoption. The grant has done its job, it's outstayed its welcome, and its removal should be applauded more than anything. Let me know what you think in the comments though, because I'm sure my views on this subject will be quite controversial. Our next news story gives you a very clear example of the grant no longer being required. Despite most of the models no longer being eligible anyway, MG have halted all new EV orders in the UK because they have a massive waiting list that they're struggling to fulfill. This story from AM Online tells us what's going on, so let's take a look. MG Motor UK has halted its sales of affordable electric vehicles as it aims to meet an unprecedented level of demand amid global semiconductor supply shortages. A statement issued to AM by the Chinese-owned carmaker's UK operation said it had stopped taking orders of the MG ZS EV that was launched in November last year as it battled to meet its current order take. It placed its final order for the MG5 estate car earlier this year, meanwhile, ahead of the launch of an updated version expected in Q4, and that'll be the one with new front end that we've already seen that we know is coming to the UK eventually. MG Motor UK said, following an unprecedented level of demand for the new ZS EV since launch in November last year, we have taken the decision to temporarily suspend accepting new orders to concentrate on fulfilling our current order banks, which are full until the end of this year. We placed the final order for the current model MG5 EV earlier this year in anticipation of the eagerly awaited replacement, which we will launch by the end of 2022. An announcement on pricing and opening of order books is due shortly. Whilst we are working with our production colleagues to increase volume, we are affected by the well-publicised global semiconductor shortage, which has limited our ability to match supply to demand. We anticipate being in a position to start accepting orders for ZS EV again in a matter of weeks. MG's UK car registrations were up 86% year to date to the end of May this year. Its burgeoning sales success in the UK has been partially built on its sales of affordable EVs. Now, I would question the partially there, having driven the petrol MG3, which I reviewed on this channel when I had it as a courtesy car when my ZS EV was in getting work done. I would definitely say their success should solely be built on the sale of affordable EVs, and I think this will continue in the future. I can definitely see MG becoming an EV only brand in the not so distant future, because their EV product is very strong and their internal combustion product is really not. But you're out of luck if you haven't got round to placing an order, for now at least. Exciting times ahead with the upcoming new MG5 facelift on the horizon, but you've got a little while to wait, sadly. Given the number of people still waiting for their ZS EVs that they ordered in November though, I think it's the right thing for MG to do to protect their reputation here. I do feel for the dealers a little bit. It must be pretty tough operating with absolutely nothing to sell, but I don't think they're alone in that. EV lead times and waiting lists are absolutely huge right now. And finally, Citroen UK have announced finance offers for Ami, their amazing little electric quadricycle, which is heading to these shores very shortly. To find out more about how you could be driving one for as little as £20 a month, check out this next video.